Hello, I'm Charling and this is Speedrunners. So, what is Speedrunners? Well, it's a cutthroat multiplayer running game that pits 4 players against each other, locally or online, where you can run and jump and swing and slide, and also use a variety of weapons and pickups to knock your opponents off the screen. It's quite a competitive game and quite fast paced. Now, the game has been in early access for quite some time, so there's no doubt that some of you have already played it. But for those of you who haven't, let's take a look. Graphically and audio wise, the game is quite simplistic. It's rendered in 2D, somewhat of a cartoony style, and it's got some catchy tunes playing while you frantically race around the map, with some sound effects to match. Now honestly, there's not a lot to talk about here. I think it gets the job done, and I don't think that the simplicity of the visuals detracts from the game experience at all. In fact, I think because the game is so fast paced, I think that the simplicity of design actually helps it in this respect. An overly busy screen with too much detail would have made it hard to follow what's going on. And yes, I'm looking at you, Battleborn. Okay, so let's talk about the gameplay. In something like Speedrunners, the gameplay is probably the most important aspect of the game. Is it fun? Is it replayable? And how much content is there going to be? So let's start off talking about the variety of the maps in the game. There are 16 available maps, official maps in the game. But the game also has Steam Workshop support, so there are already a large number of user-created maps that you can play, since the game has been in early access for quite some time. And no doubt that when the game officially launches with the new players that climb on board, there are going to be even more maps available for selection. So I don't think that map variety and content is going to be an issue in this particular title. There are also 12 different runners that you can choose from that have to be unlocked as you level up in the game, as well as a variety of different weapons that you unlock by leveling up. Now, the way weapons work in the game is that they're collected in matches as pickups, and whatever you pick up, you'll get a random selection from the weapons that you've currently unlocked. So it's kind of in your best interest to level up and unlock different weapons, which will give you a larger variety of choice with your random pickups in the game itself. But otherwise, the races themselves appear to be relatively simple at first. You can race solo against bots locally or online, and the idea is to keep moving. So following the course, whether it's about running, sliding, grappling or jumping, there are obstacles and collectibles scattered throughout each of the stages. So there's boxes and brick walls that you can collide with that'll slow you down, boost areas that'll increase your speed and add to your boost meter, which can be accessed by pressing R2 to give you a bit of a speed boost, and switches that will close off sections of the track, forcing others to the ground, spikes, and all kinds of wonderful things like that. There are a bunch of collectibles that can be collected on the level as well, and what these do is they give you weapons, and the more weapons you've unlocked from leveling up, the more choice you are going to get when collecting these. And these can be anything from homing missiles to hooks that can grab and pull your opponent backwards, bombs, freeze rays, and crates that you can drop to hinder your opponents. So basically you win when you've eliminated your opponents, and the way this works is that if any of your opponents are not able to remain on the same screen as you, will get destroyed and eliminated. So the entire match is basically a frantic race of keeping up and trying to get as far ahead of the others as you can without getting eliminated. Now, if this wasn't hard enough, the actual screen size gets smaller and smaller as the round progresses, until eventually there's a really tiny window that you have to stay within in order to not be eliminated. And that definitely increases the tension, and I think that was quite a pretty cool addition actually. But otherwise, that's for the most part the gameplay loop. It's actually a lot of fun, and obviously racing against other players is far more entertaining than playing against the AI. But I do think that playing solo and versus the AI is probably a good way to learn each of the levels. And like any racing game, the more familiar you are with each of the stages, the better you're going to be able to play, and I think the more enjoyment you're going to have. Now, Speedrunners is a very competitive game, and I think that in order for you to have any kind of chance at getting anywhere in the levels, you're going to have to know the levels. Now, I played several matches online, and I did find that more often than not I was just left in the dust as a new player. There seem to be so many intricacies in this game that are not explained in the tutorial, unfortunately. The concept of maintaining momentum, or grappling twice to get more speed, or landing at the bottom of ramps to get speed boosts. Now, none of these things are explained in the tutorial. I think that they really need to consider adding these aspects to the game to help new players learn the mechanics and the deeper aspects of this title. But outside of my complaints with the tutorial not covering all the aspects of the game, I haven't actually had any other errors or crashes, nothing like that. But the matchmaking did seem to take really long when I was trying to find a match, longer than I would have liked. Now, I don't know if it's because the game is still in early access or just because there aren't enough players at the moment. Although the matchmaking listed there were 265 players when I was looking for my match, it still took quite a while to actually get into a match. Now, I was playing in entry-level league, so that could have been the reason. Since the game has been out in early access for quite some time, perhaps the majority of players that are currently playing have already worked their way up to higher difficulty and higher skill-based leagues than entry, since I'm a new player. And perhaps that when the game launches, there's going to be an influx of new players and that this won't be so much of a problem. But all in all, I've had a lot of fun with the game in short bursts. It's enjoyable and somewhat addictive with that one more race kind of feeling. I do think though that this is probably best played with a group of friends on the same voice conversation. I think a lot of fun could be had there. But anyways, if you're interested in checking out speedrunners, you can head over to Steam to pick it up for $15 or your regional equivalent. The game is available for purchase now, but it will officially launch on the 19th of April. And as usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the section below. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It does help me out a lot. Otherwise, I've been Shaoling. Until next time. So what is Warframe? Well, it's a free-to-play third-person action game with shooting, melee combat, space combat, crafting, upgrades, leveling and looting. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Trackmania series, it's basically a time-based arcade racing game. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this. If you're looking for a driving simulation, you're going to have to look somewhere else.